my name is Paul Moynagh. I'm from Commit Works. We've been doing this for about 5 or 6 years, and our job is to provide a software solution that helps provide trust, commitment, and sustainable results in operation. This is a presentation I gave at the AusIMM Underground Operators Conference a little while ago. So thanks to some of the guys that sponsored that paper. We believe very strongly that successful organisations are built by people that make commitments to each other and then deliver on them. And the problem is, I did slides in a different order in a different presentation, but here we go. So what we actually do, the way we do that for people, is we create coordinated plan execution at the face. So we get all of this kind of planning work, all the places that you spend a lot of money, the SAPs, the Deswicks, the Rungis, all those kind of tools, and we get that into a frontline work plan so it can be part of your management system. We also provide that plan, once it's been done, shift by shift, to the supervisor at the face. So all this OT data that you're getting off the face can be contextualized against a plan. So the guy knows not just about whether he's on rate or on util or on availability, he knows whether he's hitting the plan for the shift. And having those two things means we've got a nice little sandwich here. We can actually real-time schedule while we're there. So we're about to do a job with a big mine in Australia somewhere. They're going to have two 98-inch touch screens. These little Gantt bars here will be changing, updating in real time from information the guys are giving to them from the face. And so the guy standing there in the control room will be able to say, oh, actually that means we've got to move this, move that. So it's real short interval control right at the face, really giving people mine productivity improving results. So I don't know if did anyone see this guy yesterday? One of the things I thought was quite interesting about what he said is how many things that fighter pilots had invented in the world. I don't know if you realised how many. I'm sure he did. Anyway, so what he said, which I thought was really interesting, is that a lot of improvements come from the debrief. But you can't have a debrief. You can't analyse whether you went well or whether you didn't if you don't have a plan in the first place. And I think a lot of people are going to work every day in mines without an effective plan. Some of the results we've achieved over the last 5, 6 years, we've seen some great results. So 74% improvement in production out of the mines that use fusion in Queensland versus the ones that don't. And they've become a lot safer at the same time. There's a project we did mid last year here, a 51% increase in production off their wall and 43% off their development units 12 to 14 weeks after implementing the system. And there's no magic bullet there. All they did really was just get rid of a lot of the waste, the problems, the people standing around, the people waiting for things that didn't get done that should have got done. So there's far too much of this kind of thing in mining. I don't know if you guys, you're waiting for a heading to be opened, and you think, I wish those guys had brought the services up. They haven't done it. They said they did, but they didn't. That kind of thing. This is just waste in mining. And we think that that's not a good thing. And I think, not to put the blame anywhere, but there's too many of these whiteboards and spreadsheets and pieces of paper. There's an organisation here that spent something like $3.5 billion on SAP. And there she is. She's about to go to the daily review meeting. She's taken a photo of the whiteboard behind her desk, which shows all the digs that they're working on, and that's how she's going to represent how they've gone for the shift. And that that's a couple of years ago. It hasn't changed. These are 5 or 6 years ago. It's still making whiteboards, and there's still a lot of us former consultants or consultants out there making those kind of whiteboards, doing that kind of work. And you can see this here. Paper, process whiteboards. Someone's doing lean here. Post-it note tools, And I'm here to say that if that's the kind of experience you've got, it's not really your fault, because what's happened over the years is people have been sold this idea that you can put manufacturing kind of processes into mining. And I think to a point you can, but the problem in this is that as work variability goes up, the quality of those kind of standard tools goes down. That makes sense? So out here you got manufacturing, where you can control the inputs and the outputs. Yeah. Out here you got war. No plan stands first contact with the enemy. And I would posit that mining and construction, other kind of industries, to the war end of the scale. You know, you cannot control the ore body, but what you can do is be able to adapt your plan for the changing workplace so that the guys who go to work every day have a plan that makes sense to them. So, as a quick case study, we've been working with these guys for about 6 years. They had operational systems like this. So all this kind of whiteboards and spreadsheets were holding their frontline guys apart from good quality work. So when they went to work, they didn't feel like they knew what they were going to do every day. They disconnected manual systems. Supervisors would say, there's no way I'm committing to this plan. Bosses would say, why can't these things get done? It doesn't make sense. And the guys underground going, these blokes just don't know what they're talking about. Yeah? That's no way to run an operation, but it's happening every day in billion-dollar companies. So what we created, we've been working on it with them for 6 years now, is what we call a commitment system. So we basically got them to a point where all of the work on site is coming into a single place, a single commitment system that is visual, it's visible to everybody on site, and everybody knows before they go to work that the work is reasonably achievable because they can commit to it. So all work is safe, it's planned, and it's organised. That, you know, some of those guys are in Queensland. They're part of the reason that safety has got better. So visible, committed through the MOS. So this gives them this. You know, the plan makes sense. I can commit to that. The boss, this place is starting to feel like it's under control. And the guys underground, this is an important kind of subtlety, they feel like they've actually had some input into the plan because they can be part of the planning process, they can see it. It doesn't just get dumped on them from above. So that in combination with the plan, do, check, act cycle, the process that our fighter pilot was explaining yesterday essentially, has produced huge results. So these guys, they won Coal Mine of the Year, I think 6 years ago. They won it 4 years ago, and they won it last year. They've increased production here. This is off the investor website. 39% increase off their longwall. Nothing happens if it's not in fusion. Record achievements. We won an award with them last year, the Mets Ignited Collaboration Award with them last year. You know, it's not just one site. The Grosvenor project was brought in as a kind of TBM machine. It's in trouble. They put it into the system and suddenly got under control, managed it, brought it in under early. You know, we had record tons, and this is just an Anglo hits, right? So how does that work? Well, basically, what we're doing is, as I said before, we're putting all of that work, all of the sources of work into one place so that people consider it. You're getting data from the guys on the face to say, this is what I know needs to happen. I need a survey pick up here. I need the pump crew to do something for me over there. All that kind of work is in one place. We can understand the interactions between things and locations, by machine, by person, by stope, wherever it might be. We can have meetings. You know, we can actually have effective meetings. So the last one of these I went to at a Rio site was 15 minutes long for a daily planning meeting. Who's been to a daily planning meeting or a weekly planning meeting that's 15 minutes long? And the reasons it took that long was because people turned up organised. They had a plan, that they understood what other people are going to do, they could commit to it. Pre-shift briefings, this is in Africa, in the Witbank area. This guy here, he's looking at his fusion plan and he's communicating to his team what they're going to do for the day. They've also got a printed version of that. And this is a Rio site. You know, people are standing around these touch screens talking about what's going to happen, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it better. We've got we've got an app. This guy's looking at his it's a $500 Android telephone connected to a Wi-Fi network underground. He's doing short interval control at the face in one of these mines. We didn't have to teach him. It's, you know, it's like swipe left, swipe right. It's really easy. At the end of shift, he's writing a shift report in the same system. Those kind of all of that information is coming into daily reports, which then end up in these kind of meetings, so people can daily review. This is where that debrief process happens, where people continuously improve. And people get to a point where they say, if it's in Fusion, it gets done, or work gets done when it's in Fusion. This is the Rio site. You know, we got this, people sort of say to us, well, you know, we've done these kind of projects before and they take a long time and it's risky and all that stuff. We got these, the boss here, we normally take 4 to 8 weeks to do this prepare and set up stage. Once we got the purchase order, he wanted it by the end of June, and that was 2 weeks away. And we were like, oh, all right. And so we got stuck in. He'd done a bit of the pre-work before kind of getting people moving, but we got the site set up in 2 weeks. And then we implemented it on the Monday, started training people on the Monday, and on the Thursday, there were no more spreadsheets. People turned off the spreadsheets, they used Fusion to put their weekly plan together, and on Friday morning, all of the underground teams went to work with a Fusion plan. So in less than 3 weeks from the purchase order to a bunch of people underground using a Fusion plan. And you know, this is software as a service, right? So we're not just kind of giving it to you saying, good luck CD. We're looking after, we're installing it, and we're making sure it's sustainable. So we went, you know, we took everybody. It was the plant, the geos, the surveyors, everybody involved in the work on site that needed to get work done underground is involved in the planning process. So there's 150 users in the end. So there's the collaborative planning again, handovers and pre-starts. And that's the kind of increases they had. So we started here on the 16th, was it the 12th of June? And, you know, that was the 6 months prior. And that's what they were doing not very long afterwards. Development units, same kind of answer. So what was different about that? That, you know, because that's been sustained. We take people back to that site quite regularly, and people, we don't even have to open our mouths. You know, the guys are just saying, oh, we've done this and we've done that, and they own it now. So what's different? Well, I think one thing people don't realise in change management is the easier the thing is to use, the easier it is to use, you know. So there's a lot of products out there that are built on very, very old technology that is just clunky, you know. Our products are web. You know, you can put it behind the firewall if you want to, but it's a web tool, which means people kind of get it really quickly. So easy to use makes it faster acceptance and better results quicker. We provide support, so you know we're trying to increase the maturity of the use of the product over time. We don't get paid if people don't use the product, right? So I'm not going to ask you for a whole lot of money up front and then kind of not deliver any service. We get paid if you use the product. And so it's aligned to your management system and integrated with core IT, and that just makes it sustainable. We've been using, this has been installed at Anglo sites in Australia for over 6 years and South Africa for over 4 years. Successive general managers, successive planning managers, successive people right through the organisation. The product's still working as well as it was when it was implemented, and it gets better every month. So easy to use. I don't know if anyone's done a MOS project, management operating system project here, and there's a lot of effort put in up front, and generally behaviours fall away really quickly. With a product like ours, we're on top of that. You know, we can see if usage is falling away, and we can, send reports and make phone calls to people on a regular basis to try to encourage the right kind of action before the MOS is dead. This is a pretty complicated slide, but basically what it's saying is that if you're doing a management operating system, you can get DesWork and Rungy tools up here, and you can get kind of data analyst tools, and you can get data off the machines around here, but there's a heap of stuff going on to get that plan into the hands of the supervisor to do short interval control. If you're not getting all of these boxes filled somehow, then things will be falling through the gaps. And the beauty of the products that CommitWorks provides is that they all are integrated and one tool for doing all of that work. So you don't have to go to 5 different vendors. Barracks tried to do that and failed. I hear other stories of people trying to do that, spending lots and lots of money to try to wire together tools that shouldn't do this sort of stuff. We're all in the same package. So, I guess what I'm trying to say here really is that a management system does not need to be as complicated as as it might be, and as difficult to sustain as it might have been in the past few. There's a great video by a guy called David Marquette, talks about turning a submarine around. And I love it because he kind of ends up in this position where he says, leadership is about embedding the capacity for greatness in the people and processes of an organisation and decoupling it from the personality of the leader. So you shouldn't need to go and buy a rock star general manager to be able to turn your mind around. You should be able to build the processes and systems into that place so it is the fabric of the way the organisation works. And if you actually try to do that with spreadsheets and whiteboards and brown papers and that kind of thing, you'll get some results, but it will fail long term. You need a system that people can't avoid. And I think if I can produce, and as a team at CommitWorks, we can make that kind of thing happen for organisations all around the world, then we'll have succeeded. And I'll just leave you with this. It should, in Brad's view, it's really a no-brainer. If you can get those even if you can get 5% increase in production, let alone 50% increase in production by just reducing that waste, day-to-day, simple stuff, then we pay for this 1 million times over in no time. Thank you.